The LYB podcast is sponsored by Fight Energy. Fight Energy is your all-in-one health drink. You have nootropics, 0 calories, 125 milligrams of caffeine, as well as your daily dose of vitamins to keep you feeling your best. You can order Fight at danityfitness.com. Make sure you use code LYB for 25% off. And we're even going to throw in some travel packs for any purchase. And let us know, are you team strawberry or team blueberry? And when you drink Fight, make sure to tag Danity Fitness 1 on socials to share. Hey everyone, welcome to Love Your Body podcast. On today's episode, we have Miss Angel Falk. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
I know. I'm so excited to have you. I feel like, have we only met like one time in real life?
I think one time at Whole Foods.
Yeah, I think so too.
You gave me your little tank top.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
One of my
Yeah.
Danny D tank tops. Okay.
I have heard of you.
Yeah.
Someone told me about you because they thought that you and I would just get along so
Yeah.
well because we're both all about love yourself
Yeah.
and be the best version of yourself.
Okay.
And that was just cool. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And we just met up. And I remember you had told me a little bit about your story, which we're going to get into. But yeah, you just have this like amazing energy and you were just so positive and spunky, just like me. And it was just like, oh, this is so refreshing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I definitely, want to go over, I know originally are you from Franklin or where are you from originally?
I'm actually originally from Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
We moved to Franklin in 2003.
Okay. Why did y'all move there?
Oh, girl. It was like family trauma.
Really?
I just felt the Lord saying it's time to leave.
Okay.
And I told my husband, and it took him a little bit longer to come around, but he did. And we literally got on the internet and looked for good places to live in the South to raise children. And that's how we ended up in Franklin.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So then, and because you have 2 children?
Yes.
Okay. So a boy and a girl?
Yep, boy, girl.
Okay. Awesome. And so, when you moved to Franklin, was it everything you expected? Like, did you?
Yeah, Mayberry.
Okay.
It was just like Mayberry. And it's changed a lot.
For sure.
But it was the sweetest place and still is, dear to
Yeah.
our heart.
Definitely.
So, yeah, we're so grateful we moved.
I love that. And then has the family, like, trauma stuff, has that, like, surpassed? Like, has it, like, gone past it? Or
It's calming down.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother was murdered.
Okay. Yes. So I've been
Yes.
seeing this, and because I know you were like at a rally or something, or you were talking and speaking. I'm just like, I can't keep up. Like I'm not trying to whatever, but I just was like, I need to wait till I have this conversation with her to figure it out. Like
I have been on the news a lot, and I've been showing clips of that. That's probably what you saw.
Yeah.
And speaking at different events.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a crazy, crazy story.
Okay.
A love triangle. She, my dad, her husband. And, so when it happened, they killed her. I should say he killed her husband.
Okay.
Who would be called my stepdad, but we don't have that kind of relationship.
Right. Okay.
But he did it in Alabama, where they lived in Dothan, Alabama.
Yeah.
And then he hid her body in Florida. So it was about a 45-minute drive.
No.
And that ruined the whole case because we spent a month and a half looking for her. And when she was found in Florida, the whole system was it was crazy. And that's when I felt like I was dealing with Barney Fife.
Yeah.
Like these people did not know what they were doing. The people in Alabama, like we have a solid case because he made a false missing persons report. And the next day his parents checked him into rehab. And he never once checked on her, checked on the case, called me, didn't come to her funeral, any of that. So guilty. And then years and years went by, and I kept trying to get, because Florida had jurisdiction. Once they found her in Florida, they had jurisdiction, and they didn't want to do anything. And the DA actually told me, we don't care about you or your mother.
Wow.
Talk about painful.
Yeah.
And so years and years calling, writing letters, going down there, being on the news.
Yeah.
I couldn't get anywhere. And that's when I finally felt like we have to leave. I can't live here anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have anything to do with Alabama or Florida at that time. It was just too traumatic. And then 22 years later, I got a letter. And that changed everything.
Oh my God.
And I can't go into all the details because we haven't gone to trial yet.
Right.
But it led to his arrest.
Okay.
So thank God, at least we got that we got new people are in office. And that's what it's about. You got to have the right people. And I got this amazing detective who got on a plane, went to Florida. He said, there's a whole room of evidence they never did anything with. So we got the case back to Alabama. So now I'm an Alabama fan again.
Right.
And
right.
and yeah, things are rolling, but it's such a long process. And I always say it's not a justice system, it's a criminal system because they do
100%.
everything to protect the criminal.
Right.
So we've been waiting for trial for over a year.
Wow.
And he has this high paid sleazy lawyer who wears makeup.
No.
It's ridiculous. This man is, everyone knows he's evil. And sadly, whoever has the most money usually wins. But
Right.
In this case, I know God is going to win.
Yeah.
And we're believing for justice. But he has a bad reputation with the judges, and he asked for a delay for the trial. He hasn't had enough time to look at it yet. It's
Of
been
course.
23 years.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but anyway, but I have recently talked to the DA's office,
Yeah.
and we're hoping to go to trial this summer.
That's, I mean, incredible. And I'm so thankful that is how this is, unraveling. Cause I was just, that's what I was confused about was how long ago this
Yeah.
happened. And so so your dad and her, they were not together. Like they got divorced.
They got divorced.
Okay.
And then he became best friends with her husband.
Okay. And
And it was just a crazy situation.
Okay.
We told my mom, get out of this. This is not
Yeah,
right. This is
right.
not healthy. She was not in a great headspace.
yeah. And you were already out of the house though by this point.
Yeah,
Like you didn't have to live.
I was
in that.
33.
Okay.
I had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah. So you're trying to live your life. Like you started your family and everything like that. So
and my
you're
mom
kinda
was more like my best friend because she had me
Yeah.
at 17.
Okay.
So we were like sisters and best friends.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I was the adult,
right. And it's like they don't ever want to listen, right? Like
Right.
it's that kind of thing of like
Yeah.
they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So in your dad though, how has he been
He
with all
died
of
of
this?
cancer
Oh, okay.
many years, after that.
So he
but
never got to see the like resolution of this.
No.
Like, okay, but he knew that man was guilty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So he knew.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So did that like? Did you feel supported by your dad along the way though? Like.
It was a strange situation.
Yeah.
Very strange situation.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know why he lied about some things and
Yeah.
cover up and yeah.
Goodness. Well, thank goodness for that new detective and everything like that. So that's fantastic. So this
Yes.
summer you'll go to the trial.
Yes.
Okay. And then with that, like all of that and everything, how have you been? Because I know, like, I don't know, what was your job like when you moved and new fresh start and everything like that? Like, how were you in your headspace? I mean,
Yeah.
because not only did your mom just die, but it's a brutal, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's, I can't imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. It was hard. I always clung to God.
Mm-hmm.
I became a believer in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And got married. My husband actually helped lead me to the Lord.
I love that.
And man of God.
Yeah.
And we knew right off the bat I was going to be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
When we have children. And I was a teacher before that.
Okay.
And our church actually had a school, so I was able to teach at our Christian school. I got so
Perfect.
full of wisdom in the Lord.
Yeah.
It's just full of scripture, just full of everything. God prepared me.
Yeah.
And my main thing was to be a mom. And so when all this was happening, it was really hard because
Right.
all I wanted to do was be crying or yelling at somebody in the phone, demanding justice. But I had this 1-year-old baby.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes Ethan so compassionate. He's the most compassionate young man. All the years of holding him and
Yeah.
crying. And then my daughter's like tough.
Really?
And strong. Firstborn girl.
Okay.
They say that
Yeah.
if your firstborn's a daughter, she's usually very tough, very take charge. But I was a teacher, and then I'd always loved working out. I'd always loved fitness. And since I was a stay-at-home mom, we really didn't have it in the budget for me to teach or to go to the gym.
Right.
So I got a job at the gym checking people in and
Yep.
folding towels. It was kind of a swanky gym. And I was the front row diva in all the classes. So like step aerobics,
Yeah.
spinning. I was always
You were
right
doing
there
it.
on the front. And then one day I was just folding towels, checking in people at the front desk. And the aerobics manager said, "You should be teaching classes." And you know how words have power.
For sure.
If you receive it, it's going to happen. And I thought, I would much rather be doing that.
Right. Than being the front desk. Yeah.
Right. So that's what happened. I got certified right away. It's like it was a big certification coming. Mm-hmm. I did that and I started teaching, and that was almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
And I love fitness.
I know. I can tell. Just by everything you do, you always are just so like, you have that group fitness, like, what is it? Just energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it gives me life. And I think that's so true. The more you put out, the more you get.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
For sure. Because you get off of your like classes, like for example, like the energy, like when I would do, even just classes like at UT when I was starting out, or like Prairie Life and things like that. Like if I only had 4 people show up, it's like, this is a lot because they're not giving you a lot, right? So if some people are like, oh, you probably like a smaller class. I'm like, no, I want like 75 people.
Yeah, the more the better.
Yeah. So when I would have like packed classes, people are like, oh, how do you do that? I'm like, no, this is the easy part. Like this is the fun because like their energy, I feel it. We're vibing. It's so much harder when it's a small group.
Yeah.
So I definitely get that. So when you were kind of doing group fitness and everything like that, like on the side and everything, health is on the priority, right? So, and you're raising your kids. So what happened with, I believe it was a brain tumor, right?
Yeah. So we moved to Franklin in 2003.
Okay.
And I told the realtor I want to live by the YMCA because I had been teaching at the Y in Montgomery.
It's perfect. Yeah.
So taught there, kids there. Mm-hmm. And I noticed I was having some hearing loss.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, it's all that loud music because, I was an 80s rocker.
Oh, yeah. And it
went to
myself up.
every concert.
Yep.
And then in group fitness, we were always getting in trouble for having the music too loud.
Same.
And they even put a little machine, tells you how
the
if it's
decimal
too
reader.
high.
Yes, I know.
So I thought, okay, I've done this to myself. So I go to the doctor. He does a hearing test. And he's like, I don't think it would be that because then it would be both ears. You're only losing hearing on one ear, but let's just keep an eye on it.
Okay.
So that was 2006.
Okay.
And I should have kept an eye on it and gone to the doctor again. I kind of want to blame him, but I want to blame myself as well.
Yeah.
Because it got worse and worse. I started using my other ear for the phone and, just saying that all the time to my family. And then one night, it was 2009, so 3 years later, I woke up in the middle of the night hearing a crunching sound. It sounded like paper being wadded up.
Oh.
And I was like, what is this? I'm waking up. What is this? And I go, and then I'm completely deaf.
Oh, my gosh.
You know how you can put your finger there? Completely deaf. I thought something is wrong.
Yeah.
So that started a series of doctor's appointments.
Right.
MRI. Finally got an MRI and saw a huge tumor. It was huge, and it had tails on it, intertwining the nerves on my brainstem. It was like a monster wanting to kill me.
Yeah.
And they said I could have easily died in my sleep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It was a meningioma.
Okay.
The good news, it was not cancer, but the bad news was the location.
Yeah.
So it had almost shut off all of the fluid going from the brain to the brainstem. And it was just so huge. The MRI, I could not believe it. The brain was almost mashed completely flat on the right side.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had a 14-hour surgery. I had to relearn to walk, talk, swallow, everything. And they said it would be maybe a year and a half before I was teaching classes again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, because the right side of the brain is control of what? Was that your, like...
Well, going into the brainstem, it was the hearing nerve, the auditory nerve. And after surgery, it had gotten wrapped around my facial nerve, which was so stretched out. That's why my face is paralyzed, which is very improved.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work. And it's improved a lot.
Yeah. No, I can tell. I mean, like, I can't, like, because I remember when we first met, I mean.
Was it worse?
It was a significant difference. Yeah. And I mean, I saw that you have been getting some stuff done.
Yes.
And how positive you felt about it and everything like that. And I mean, it's a major change.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, some people go blind. It's by the optic nerve.
Right.
Just depends on what nerve it damages.
Wow.
So mine was I lost all my hearing.
Yeah.
And facial.
But you were still, like, cognitively, you remembered everything. Like, you were still, okay.
I did great that way. Thank God.
Yes.
Could have been a lot worse.
Right. So how long were you in the hospital for that, like, to regain strength and walking and swallowing and everything?
Yeah, they said it may be 7 to 10 days, and then I would go home and kind of do inpatient or outpatient.
Yeah.
And I was only in the hospital for 3 days.
Okay.
And it was so funny because my heart rate is so good because of teaching aerobics for 30 years.
Yeah.
The ICU nurses were like, we've never seen anybody with a heart like this. This is amazing. You're
That's
so
so
healthy, except for the
special.
brain tumor.
Right. Except for the brain. So that's why I was wondering, like, did they say, like, how this kind of happens, or is it?
Yeah, they don't know. It's
Okay.
sadly, we just don't know. I was part of a research paper, and they wanted my toenails and put in different envelopes.
Oh,
Like the
okay.
big toe goes in this one. Yeah, it was
Oh.
very strange. And I was on the phone for over an hour just answering questions about where I lived and were there
Okay.
different plants around. And
So trying to figure out some correlation.
yeah, but I
of,
never
like,
got anything. But I do tell people, your cell phone, it has in there on the directions, don't put it right against your face or your ear because of the radiation. So I don't like to talk on the phone. If
Yeah.
I'm on the phone, I usually have speaker on.
Okay.
And it's very annoying to people, but I don't care.
Yeah, you're like, whatever. Like, I'm gonna protect myself. So
I'd rather text.
Yeah.
And then when I see little children with their phones right on their ears, it breaks my heart because brain cancer for children is on the rise.
Oh my goodness.
And their little skulls are so thin.
Yeah.
It really affects them. So if I see a child or a baby with a phone, if I can make eye contact with the mom,
Yeah. You
I
try
ask
to-
the Lord, if I can say something, let me know.
yeah, give me a gateway or give me a path to
Yes.
like do it. Wow. Yeah. It's like, it's small things like that. I mean, they're huge things, but it's like things that you would think people talk about more and that you should know. But it's like,
Right. Nobody reads that on
Yeah.
their phone. They get that list and just toss it.
Yeah.
And, a lot of doctors say it's such a small amount, it doesn't matter. My husband's a pharmacist, so he usually tells me things, it's not that big a deal.
right. But things do, I feel like, add up,
Yeah.
I don't know. Cause it's like, I know for like with my stuff and my journey with like hormones and things like that. And I do want to talk about your journey with that as well. But,
Yeah.
but like I've had to reevaluate everything. So I've had to like de-stress. I've had to, focus on like red light therapy, meditation, like all these different things that, really add up because it's calming your central nervous system again. It's like finding a way to get out of fight or flight that I was constantly in and never got out of.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there being like, oh, well, I'll never get out of this. And literally my hormone specialist was like, you can take 3 minutes and get out of it right now. But I was like, oh, I thought you're just in it. I thought like you can't, you know what I mean?
No,
Like
you could choose.
You can, yes, exactly. So it's we almost becomes just a part of our like environment and and
It's
what
a
we're around.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you have to be intentional to make those changes.
Yeah. And again, people act like, oh, it's so easy. It's like, cool, then do it. You know what I mean? Kind of like with working out and stuff like that. They're like, oh, well, like I'll just go train myself or whatever. And then they come talk to you 6 months later, like, oh, I couldn't get there. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, again, it's not as simple as, yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
And I have to be intentional every day to be like, okay, put my phone down at a certain time of night, right?
Right.
Turn the light down on my phone. Like, even I have like a Hatch alarm clock now and I love it. And so I sleep with that. And so that helps me get into a state where I can have like steady state, just like sleeping wise.
Yep.
And I mean, but that was something that I always had a hard time. I was always waking up every other hour, just like constantly on. And so that's really helped me. But even that, it's like, I waited so long to order that alarm clock. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, why? It wasn't for lack of money.
Right.
It was
They're
just like
$7.
Yeah. But like, why didn't you just order it? Like, so, so I think that sometimes we look at things and we're like, oh, why didn't we just, like you said, like go to the doctor sooner? Or like, why didn't we, but we
Things
can't.
that are so simple. Yeah.
But we can't go back, right? So when you had all of that, happen, everything like that, how were you like, because I know we talked about, like, or I know you mentioned that we love, have this mindset of loving ourselves, right? So how was that for you when, because now you're aesthetically, people can tell. Because, for example, you could have had a brain tumor and no one ever know because you maybe have a deep scar back here.
Right.
You get a wig or you can
Right.
cover it up, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because, like, I have my eye issue now with autoimmune and stuff. And it's like, so people don't know and they can't, because they can't see that it's an issue.
Yeah.
But there's like drops I use to open my eye back up. You know what I mean? And like, I have a contact in right now, but it's not the right contact, like whatever, so it's like, you can't really see. So
You can hide it.
Yeah, you can hide it. So how did you feel with it being kind of open for everyone to either comment or see? Like,
Yeah, it was hard. I won't lie and say it was easy.
Right.
But I'm in a Facebook group with women. They won't go out in public.
right.
They will not live their life. And it is truly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I will say, I started Facebook in 2009. My next door neighbor said something about Facebook. I was like, what's that? She goes,
Right.
it's kind of like email, but it's more fun.
I love
Remember
it.
back in the day, we
Yes.
sent all those emails. So I signed up for it and got connected with all my like elementary, high school friends. It was just so much fun.
Yeah.
I remember being on the computer and having all these little chats at the bottom. I was loving it because I'm a social person.
For sure.
Yeah. So when I had the brain tumor, I told everybody about it.
Right.
And I was like, pray for me. And the doctor said, because it was such a serious, surgery and it would take a lot of work to come back, I needed to really plan for it. We were homeschooling at the time.
Okay.
So we had to, get our kid in school again.
Yeah.
It was just really, really hard. And so we had 3 months to prepare.
Okay.
And I let the world know I'm kind of one of those people. I share life.
Yeah.
And I think because of all that support, it really helped because I was
100%.
open about what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I got so many prayers.
Yeah.
And I do believe God is
Yes.
a God who answers prayers.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants us to be unified and help each other. So I had a great community.
Yeah.
I was in a Bible study with women who were powerful and anointed and prayed and supported. So all of that really made a huge difference. And then after surgery, I had 2 neurosurgeons because the surgery was 14 hours long. So they had to tag team.
Yeah.
And one said, oh, that facial nerve, it's still working. We tested it. It's just stretched out. It will come back. And so they put me in physical therapy, facial therapy, all the things. The other surgeon said, we can't promise it'll come back.
Yeah.
We're hopeful it will.
Yeah.
But it got worse and worse and worse.
Okay.
And it started just atrophy. And my nostril was completely flat like a piece of paper.
Oh, man.
It was crazy. And this was flat. I had no wrinkles on this side of my face. I was
Right.
like, this is like what it looks like when you don't
Yeah.
move your face.
Right.
And so, I was open and honest. I went to Bible study looking like that.
Yeah.
People prayed. I was not going to let that stop me from living life.
Yeah.
And I just knew that really this is an amazing part. And I got to help write a book, and I put this in the book.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I looked in the mirror because I knew what was happening just from everybody, talking about it.
Right.
But I hadn't looked in the mirror yet.
Oh, okay.
And the first time I went to look in the mirror, before I did it, it's like I took a deep breath. And I looked and I saw that it was starting. It was the beginning stages. And I just said, we're going on another adventure, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I just knew the Lord was going to use this somehow, some way, and it was
sure.
going to be a big deal. And he was going to grow me up in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think no matter how long you're a believer, you're going to have hard things.
Right.
Jesus says in this world we will have trouble.
Right.
And as long as we stay close to the Lord, he is going to use it for his glory.
Yeah.
And use it. And so I think I've really been able to help a lot of women.
Definitely.
Because women who have facial paralysis will reach out to me
Yep.
and ask me things. And,
Right.
even if they don't reach out, they're watching.
They're seeing it exactly.
They're seeing you're leading by example.
Yep.
I'm living my life.
Yeah.
And now that I've gotten surgery and I get treatments on my face, because there are issues that pop up with it
Right.
that aren't just cosmetic.
Right.
It's just it's a great thing to be able to help others.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a beautiful perspective. And I know like everyone listening is probably like, Danny, you're so nonchalant about this. But like, it's because I've watched you and seen you. So it's like, you're just always so positive. Like you've always been. And so I kind of knew how this conversation would go.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful that like I've watched even your faith, like it seems has grown stronger, you know, or maybe your conviction more so.
Yeah.
And that's been great to watch. And just you praying openly, on socials and things like that. Like people need it, especially in the state of the world right now.
Yes.
And so it's beautiful. And also, you hear me talk about, loving your body throughout all seasons.
Yeah.
And it's like, but when you're really tested for that, like some people, like I told someone the other day, I said to a client, I said, the fact that you have the luxury of just like picking apart your body right now is like, I mean, like, do you realize that? Yeah. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, if you couldn't feel your leg right now, like how with my injury, right? Like, and you could feel like, that's all you'd be thinking about. You wouldn't even be carrying that, oh, like my hair is like messed up today. Or like,
Right,
oh,
right.
like my, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or like, oh, like my stomach or what, right? Because it's a luxury to care about those things.
Yeah.
Because when your health is in dire needs of, or whatever's going on, that trumps everything.
Yeah. It reminds me to always be grateful.
Yes.
Always be grateful for
Yeah.
what you do have. And I remember telling people that I don't focus on what I can't do because there was a while, I couldn't do what I wanted to do, of course. I couldn't
Right.
stand on one leg.
Yeah.
I didn't have the balance.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I'm going to do what I can do.
Right. And you said that they told you it was going to take about a year and a half
Yeah.
to get back to movement, like
Yeah.
to teaching classes or movement in general.
They said teaching classes and living life as
Okay.
I'm living it. But people were shocked. My husband drove. I couldn't drive for quite a while. My vision was off. Everything was blurry.
Yeah.
Just all the things. Balance way off.
Yeah.
But he took me to the gym, propped me against the wall, and put dumbbells in my hand.
Yes.
It's like I needed the environment.
Yeah.
And it's so important. When
Right.
you're around other people doing what you want to do,
Yeah.
you're so much closer. You're so much have a greater chance of getting there.
Yes.
And so that's how I started 6 weeks after surgery. And
Oh,
then
my
8
goodness.
weeks after surgery, I was teaching spin.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm hanging onto this bike for dear life. And my
Yes.
feet are strapped in.
Yeah. Like you're in, but like, yeah.
And then at 12 weeks, I got invited to teach Zumba for the first time at a brain injury foundation.
Okay.
Fundraiser.
Yeah.
Yes. And a little boy had a traumatic brain injury, and I remember his picture and thinking, wow, I'm honored. And I go there, and there's a song by Mandisa. Are you familiar with Mandisa? It was a Christian artist.
Okay.
Awesome. And terrible, but during the pandemic, she passed away.
Okay.
But I say during the pandemic, it was like right after that, I believe.
Okay.
But anyway, she had the most amazing Christian music that would just
Yeah.
fire me up. And there was a song called Shackles.
Okay.
It's actually originally done by Mary Mary.
Okay.
Shackles. You'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
You'll love it.
okay, yeah.
But it's like, take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. I just want to praise him. I just want to praise him. So I love making up dance routines,
Right.
especially to Christian music.
Yeah.
And so I remember I had made up a routine to that, and I got on the stage, and there was a group of Zumba teachers. Remember back in the day when everybody would have matching outfits?
Oh, yeah.
They still do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was this one group, man, they were matching, that had the baggy pants with
Yep.
strings on them and
Oh,
all
I
that.
know exactly the
It was
vibe.
so fun.
Yep.
But they were just staring at me, and they started whispering. And they walked off the dance floor like they wouldn't even participate. It really hurt my feelings, but I
no.
just kept going. And I just kept focusing on the ones that were there.
Yeah.
The ones enjoying it. And that's what I think we have to do in life.
For sure.
Everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not
No.
going to get you.
No.
But you love on the ones that love you. And it was a big deal that day to be
Yeah.
there doing that. And then I started teaching again.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, and I always say Zumba was part of my healing.
Right.
Because I was teaching a nighttime class, and I had a packed class. It was so much fun, so much energy. And
Yeah.
one of the girls yells out, "Angel, I see more teeth." Because it's like my smile.
Yeah.
And I noticed after I work out, I guess I feel more relaxed. The endorphins, I don't know, but it's like my smile is always best.
Yeah.
So I usually like take a picture or do something
Yes.
for social right after class.
Yeah. When you feel your best, you're
Yeah.
strongest, you're empowered. And yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, your smile's bigger.
Isn't that so special? And that's why I've talked about that many times and about movement and how I believe it. I mean, it saved my life, but I believe it can save other people's lives. I believe that it is that kind of like knock that some people need, that like push.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I talked about this the other day. I was doing a workout and I just remember being like, because again, I was like, I don't know if I want to like take off my jacket, but I'm like hot and sweaty and whatever. And I have this like crop thing on. And I was like, honestly, the weight's heavy enough that like, I don't care, because the main priority is that I'm going to lift the weight. Okay.
Yes.
And that's like how when I did strongman competitions, that's how it was. Nobody
Yes.
cared what you looked like. It didn't matter. It's like, can you lift the weight or not? Because again, it's a luxury to sit there and kind of have to be like, and focus only on what you're looking like.
Right.
Right. Versus being like, when you're, because think of it, if you ever lifted like a heavy deadlift or doing a back squat, you're in it. You can't,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not thinking about.
You are focused.
Like, right? And
Yeah.
so you're just like, or if it's something like really, really hard and challenging, you're just like, you don't have time to think about anything else.
Right.
And so it was just like quieting the mind and doing that. And afterwards I was like, man, I feel so beautiful. And I saw
Yeah.
the videos and stuff. And it's just like, but I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if I wouldn't have told myself like, hey, take the jacket off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, get over it. Like, move on.
Get over
right?
yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think that so many times, like, it just happens, and it can be like past trauma, negativity, like things that come into you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like you just have to recenter. And so movement always does that for me.
Oh,
it
yeah.
always brings it back to like the center and like
Oh, yeah.
grounds me. And that's where I try to tell people, I'm like movement is not just working out. It's about having a healthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And like what that means is that, again, it doesn't mean that the workouts are gonna be easy. It doesn't mean that it's gonna be, fun every time. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's just that by showing up and doing something hard or doing something that, pushes you out of your comfort zone, like you teaching in front of those people, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, you have this memory that you'll always remember. And
Yeah.
it probably propelled you to be more confident, like in your classes and
Yeah, and to
everything
speak
too.
up.
Yeah.
That led to so many things, so
love
many
that.
things. And I remember going to a post-op appointment and seeing other people in the room with the crooked smile.
Right.
And I was like, we need a club. Like, everybody's just sitting there
Yeah.
quiet. And I'm like, we need a club. And I ended up making a T-shirt because the Lord put the scripture in my heart.
If you haven't yet checked out How to Love Your Body Throughout on Amazon, please go do so. It is my passion project. It is something that is so special, and it's a tool and guide to help you love yourself more throughout your journey. Whether you're in a bodybuilding prep, whether you're a mom of 4, or you're someone that's just looking to love the body that they're in right now, I highly encourage you to check out the book on Amazon, as well as you can reach out to me with any questions. And if you're able to share this with a friend or loved one, please do, and help supporting the mission to help everybody love their body throughout their journey.
I'm the Fitness Angel, Angel Falk, and you can find me at thefitnessangel.net. On Instagram, The Fitness Angel. I'm also on Facebook, my name, Angel Falk. And I do have a page, The Fitness Angel, and I have a YouTube, Angel Falk.
Mm-hmm.
Let your light shine before men so that you may glorify their Father, our Father in heaven.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about the smile.
Yeah.
What are we doing for God?
Right.
What are we doing to help others?
Right.
And so I made that shirt, and it's a little happy sunshine with a half smile, and it says shine.
yeah.
And I've had so many people want that shirt. So
I
many
love
people
that.
wear that shirt.
That's
and it makes
amazing.
my heart so happy. I gave them to my neurosurgeons.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been awesome.
That's incredible. And so, and now, like, for people who are like watching and stuff like that, like you're still teaching, you do classes
Yes.
and you do them at, is it Crunch? Is it
Yes,
all over?
Crunch and Avalon.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just had a guest on here, Terry, which
Yes,
know, right?
I love her.
Yeah. So I figured y'all know each other. So that's awesome.
She inspires me. She's a little bit
Yeah.
older than me. So
Yeah.
she's a little ahead of me in
Yeah.
age, and it's just so fun to watch her.
For sure. Oh, she's a spitfire. She's awesome.
Yeah.
And she won her pageant, right?
Yes, and now
Yes.
she's all over the nursing homes and out in the
Yeah.
community talking and loving on people.
I love it. That's so great. And so besides the classes and everything, so you said your children are grown.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So now it's just you and your husband in the house.
Yes.
How has that been? Like, how are you navigating all that? Is that like, are you traveling at all? Or are you just like,
It was hard. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. That was another whole huge transition in my life. So after the brain tumor, I started focusing more on nutrition and health and learning about that. So that changed my eating. I went plant based and all
Yeah.
that. And then during menopause, which is when I became an empty nester, and that's usually when it happens.
Right.
And it was a hard season. It was during the pandemic. So my husband was all about, let's sell this big house.
Yeah.
And, pay cash, get something small.
Yeah.
And it was right when the homes were going up, up, up in price. And everyone
Yes.
from California wanted to live in Franklin.
Yes. Yep.
And so we sold the house in a day,
Incredible.
like in an hour. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And then we started looking at other houses, and they would all be sold before we could look at them.
Yeah.
Sold. And people were buying them before they even looked at them.
Oh, I know.
If a house
It
went
was
up,
wild.
somebody would call, the realtor would call, and they would, okay, sold.
Yep.
And so it was a hard time. So we agreed we were just going to get an apartment for a while across from the
Yeah.
Franklin Y. Because I was like, I love the Y there
Yes.
every day. And we
Yep.
went to Church of the City. We still go to Church of the City, which is right there.
Yeah.
So it was just the perfect location. But we were like, do we really want to move twice?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. Who knows what's going to happen in this market? You know, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. So I had friends that lived in Murfreesboro. I had been to Murfreesboro for a Juice Plus event because I love
yeah.
Juice Plus.
Yep.
And I thought I wouldn't mind living there or Spring Hill. His mother lived
Yeah.
in Spring Hill. It's like anywhere near. So the realtor sent us this adorable house that I love. It's one level, very small. It has a little pool with literally no yard. It's like a patio and a pool.
Okay.
And anyway, it was a crazy time in our lives too. Our 2 little dogs had passed away, so we had
Oh,
no
man.
dogs.
Okay.
And that's a big deal to me. I'm
Yeah.
a dog person.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I know Louis. Like
Right.
the dog's not even mine. He's across the street. And I literally reference him like every day.
I
Like he's
know.
my favorite. He
I
broke
love
out the other day and came and saw me. He was literally up down the steps. I was like, Louis, what's up?
they're the
Like,
best.
yeah.
They're the best.
He just knew.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so cute. So anyway, so it was a really hard time, but I was happy about the house. We
Yeah.
moved. And then I was still driving to Franklin to teach
Right.
classes. It was like 45-minute drive.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I know that drive. I
it
did for
started
years.
wearing on me. Oh,
Yeah.
it started wearing on me. So I just like, I can't do it anymore. And
Yeah.
plus, after the pandemic, a lot of people did not come back.
Right.
It was
yeah.
different.
It was.
It was a
Because where were you
different
teaching
vibe.
at in Franklin?
Franklin YMCA.
YMCA, that's right.
And
Okay,
the FAC,
yes.
the
Yeah.
Franklin Athletic Club.
Yes.
So both of and the Williamson County Rec. I've
Yep.
taught at all 3.
Okay.
So anyway, it was just a rough season.
Yeah.
But I told her I love the house. We came. Actually, she messaged us before we had an appointment to go look at it.
Yeah.
Somebody from California bought the house.
Oh my gosh.
We couldn't believe it. So
Yeah.
she said, ride out through the neighborhood, see if you like it, and I'll keep my eye on it if you do.
Yeah.
So we did. We rode out there. We loved it. It felt like home. You know, it really
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
did. And I called my best friend and I told her. She's just like, Angel, if that's meant to be your house, it's going to be your house.
For sure. Yes.
And I was like, okay. So I didn't even think about it again. Well, it's either the next day or a few days later, the realtor texted me late at night.
Yeah.
And I had my phone. I was watching the news. And she says, there's another house on that same street for sale. So I looked at it and I zoomed in. I was like,
Yeah.
no, that's the same house.
Oh.
We got that house.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the guy got COVID. And
Oh, so he
couldn't
just-
buy it. He dropped it.
Isn't that amazing? Like
know.
I mean, you hate to see that, but like it's, you know.
I know. I heard a
it's-
preacher say, when you ride by a house and you want that house, that's meant to be your house. It's not that God wants to kick them out on the streets, but hey,
Right.
there's something better for them too, probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, but we live there now, and I started teaching at Crunch when
Yes.
they opened.
Yep. Mhm.
And then the FAC owners
Yep.
owned the Mac.
Yep.
And then it changed to Avalon.
Yes.
So I started subbing there.
Okay.
And then, you know how subbing is.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Then you're hired like a week later.
Yep.
So now I teach there too. And
Okay.
I love both. I love
Yeah,
both.
good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I remember seeing you at different places, and so I was like, okay, you know, I just didn't know like
Yeah.
what that journey was like and everything. But I love that you're in Murfreesboro. It's definitely has changed a lot, you know. So I grew up on the side that you talked about before we got on here about like
Okay.
where you live at. So that's where like I went to high school and middle school day
Okay.
over there, and I was kind of the outskirts, so towards like Franklin.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
it's
that-
like you're on the Franklin Road.
Yes, and
Yeah.
like that travel. When I met you, I mean, that's what I was doing. So 2016 to 2020, every day. I mean, I drove because I worked at Prairie Life Fitness when it was
Yeah,
open.
I taught at Pure
And-
Life. I helped open it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So
I
was
went there and talked to the manager when it was just a concrete slab.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's crazy. So I was there like, it was 2016, but I didn't start teaching and everything until that summer. I want to say I was subbing.
Yeah.
And then, because there's a lot of moms, and then like they'd have to
Right.
call out. So they'd be like, Danny, you're back in.
Yeah.
So then got on the schedule and everything and did water aerobics, but I did like the folding the towels, membership, all of that.
Okay.
And then finally I was like, I'm just going to focus on group fitness, water aerobics, and personal training.
Yeah.
And then, and so I did that and then did that for like a full year and then started my business in 2017.
Very
So-
cool.
Yeah. So it was, but I still, and even when I did that though, I still was in Franklin. So I was back at my parents' house and I got to live there, fortunately, when I got back from college and everything like that. So I was driving every day. I mean, and I would leave at like 4:30 in the morning. I wouldn't get home until 10 p.m. And it was just every day. So that's why people like now, like it's funny because I told you the LYB right there, my home gym. Like some people will be like, oh, that must be nice. Like the people come to you. And I'm like, there were so many years and that literally I drove, every day. And sometimes I was driving Franklin, then Nashville, then back to Franklin, then Murfreesboro, like all in one day. Because I started training in Franklin and Nashville in I think it was 18.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, which for me was like a blessing because of the place I was in Franklin. I just couldn't let it go. Like I was like I need to stay here. But I was like, it was really hard on me. It was a lot of stress, a lot of driving. Sure. So finally I was like, this must be a sign because we all went virtual, did that for a couple months. And then I was like, hey, Franklin people, I'll be at the Nashville location. Yeah. If you want to come up there, cool. But if not, I understand. This is just kind of how it has to be, you know? Yeah. And so that was, again, like how we talked about before too, about it's not about saying no, but it's about having like boundaries and just like you can't do everything. Right. And I'm sure you get like me get offered all the time, like, hey, will you come donate to this thing? Or hey, will you come sponsor this thing? Or hey, will you come whatever? And you're like, I want to do it, but man, it's just a lot.
Yeah, you have to pray about everything. And
yes.
I always, at the end of the year, I really start asking the Lord what's for this year.
Yes.
And I told you I make vision boards.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, I forgot to tell you this part. So we moved, and I went through menopause, and I gained a bunch of weight.
Okay.
And I felt miserable. It was just a sign of the depression going on inside. Yeah. So my daughter actually, and I hope she doesn't mind me spilling out everything about her, but she went through a really rough season too. Okay. And she gained a lot of weight, and she started losing it as quickly as she had put it on. I was like, what are you doing? So she started helping me. Yeah. And it was so wonderful. You know, my mom and I were best friends. Right. And now I'm so grateful my daughter and I are best friends.
That's incredible.
It is the best.
I love that.
It is the best gift. So she started helping me, and I lost 30 pounds.
That's amazing.
I know. And I felt great. And you know me, I'm always on social. So I share and share. Right. And people are asking me, what are you doing? How are you doing this? Mm-hmm. And that was really when you see ads all the time for create a course. Yeah. Create a course. And I was like, I don't know if I want to create a course. Because I started looking into it. I don't know. Right. Just start an online business. Right. And I was teaching on an app as well. And I do teach on an app. Okay. Which is great because I started that in the pandemic. Yeah. So that's an extra little stream of income. Okay. And so I thought, people really want to know. So I had a Zoom meeting, and I said, I'm just going to tell everyone how I lost this weight, what I did, and I'm going to start a coaching program. Okay. So that's what I did. And in January, and it's on my vision board, I started a coaching program, and I got so many people wanting to do it, I had to cut it off. Yeah. Because my husband, he's, wants to protect me, doesn't want me stressed out. He's like, you can't take care of all these people. Yeah. And so now I allow 5 in a month. Okay. But it's been awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So I'm in the gym a little bit. Okay. Like 4 days a week. Okay. And then I do online. Okay. And that has just been a huge blessing. That's awesome. Yeah. So you help them. Is it mainly like is it the demographic of like women going through menopause? And yes, I have a couple like perimenopause. Perimenopause is the 10 years before you actually are in menopause. Yeah. And menopause means you've been without a period for 12 months. Right. Okay. So most of the women are my age in their 50s. Okay. I do have a few older ladies, 60s, 70s. Yeah. And then I have some in their 40s who still have a cycle. Okay. So it's a little bit different, but it's really 5 steps that I've thought this is what I did. Yeah. And so I teach them. Yeah. And then each week we have little challenges, and they're all losing the weight. Yeah, that's awesome. The ones, especially the ones really putting in the work. You get what you want. Oh, if you work for it, you're going to get it. Yeah. And you get out of it what you put in it. Mm-hmm. And it's just been a treat and a joy. So I try to share a testimonial every week on my social so people can see I did it, but I'm teaching others. Yeah. And that's which where is the real joy comes from. For sure. And you're, again, using, like, through your experience, right? And helping as many as you can. And that's what you're supposed, like, I always talk about when people, it's funny because, and you may have dealt with this too, but, like, I'll go to events or I'll go to a party or something with, like, for my clients. And they'll introduce me to their people as, like, their personal trainer. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, that's what I am. But, it's kind of like, you're like, I'm really, like, I always tell them, they're like, so like you love personal training? I'm like, I feel like it's like my life's purpose is to help women. You feel like a life coach. Well, yeah. And you're like, and it's like, I always tell them, I'm like, it's like my purpose to like help women like love their body throughout movement. Right. And so then I say that and they're like, oh,
cool. You know, it's just like it's just so, like, it just is not as well received, you know, whatever.
Right.
But it's just like, because they're like, oh, personal trainer, da, 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 whatever. They can put you in a box. But you're like, no, like, this is like my life's work.
Yeah.
And like, this is the mission. And so that's why I feel like I'm genuinely here to help women and men too. But because it has affected men as well. Because we all have, you know, issues with body image at some point, you know what I mean? Or something that's just unfavorable that we don't like about ourselves or whatever it might be. And it's just one of those things where I feel like it's so universal, and to help people throughout this season of just a mindset shift, you know, a mindset change. And I was able to go do this, this talk. And I know that I want to talk to you about this too, about the speaking engagements. Like, that's something that I'm really passionate about. And so I went to talk to like fostered youth. And so it's like this program called I Am Next. And so I didn't really know what I was walking into. And like, you know what I mean? Like, they were just like, hey, they're meet at this location and like, you know, whatever. And I was like, I was referred by somebody. Anyway, I was like, sure. Okay. So, and they're like, it's casual, you know, so I show up and it's like this apartment building, which, okay. And I walk in, it's just this room. And I'm like, okay. And there's like little kids running around. And I was like, okay. You know, so all these pieces are getting put together. And I'm kind of like, okay. Like, so it basically was like young moms. So like 18, 19 years old who were in the foster care system. And so this is actually like, they had a grant for like however many millions of dollars that bought that apartment complex so that they can transition into adulthood there. So like, basically they were getting people to come in for workshops to talk about their stories and stuff and to help the girls feel successful to move forward, you know? And she said like by the end of it, because they were very outspoken, they're like, this ain't for me. I'm pregnant. And I was like, you can love your body too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can like just stay with me and like, let's just see at the end, let me know how you like it. And by the end, it was like, you know, that one girl specifically was like, this was the best talk.
Aww.
You know, but it was just one of those things where the lady looked at me and she was like, you're not like how other people came in very like, you got to do this and you got to do this. And then like, if you don't do this, you're not gonna be successful, or like, you know, or try to relate, but kind of in a like fake way. Cause they hadn't really like been through it, like, you know, whatever. And I was like, look, I don't know what it's like to be like that. Like, you know, I didn't have that upbringing, but I asked them to raise their hand. I said, have any of you ever struggled with loving your body and liking what you see in the mirror? And no matter if they were Black, Hispanic, lesbian, this, that, whatever, it didn't matter.
It could all relate.
They all could relate because it's universal, right? Yeah. And so that was what really like brought everything together. And that made me feel like this sense of empowerment that like, wow, I really can talk to so many, you know what I mean? And like different walks of life. And so, cause I feel like sometimes people want to classify us, right? They look at, you know, you and they say, okay, you know, blonde, pretty, this, that, you know, whatever. And like, they put you in that box and you're like, no, actually I've been through this and this and this, you know, right? And you're like, and I can, you know, help you in so many ways and you don't even understand.
Yeah.
You know? So with the speaking and everything like that, so like now are you, cause you have your coaching and you're doing classes or anything like that, like, are you going kind of like, do you set a goal for yourself or do you just kind of are available when people ask you to speak, or how has that been?
You know, on my vision board, I have 3 events this year. I want to do 3 events. I've already done 2.
Cool.
And then now I'm just praying for the last one, but I just trust God in it. And we have a TV show coming out.
Yeah. Tell me about this. 'Cause I've been seeing it. That's like, I was like, what is this?
This is so God.
Yeah.
This is so God. So I've been on 2 different TV shows as a guest.
Okay.
Sharing my testimony.
Awesome.
And working out.
Love it.
And anyway, I just thought the second time, I thought it would be so fun to have a Christian TV show.
Yeah.
Again, spoke it.
Right.
The words have power.
Yes.
And so the producer for the show I was on, it was called Bloom Today.
Okay.
And the TV show or the app, but you could go and see it, is Bloom in the Dark.
Okay.
So Bloom in the Dark was started by Paula Wallace. And so Paula reached out to me years later.
Yeah.
And said, do you still want to do that Christian TV show? And I was like, yes.
Right.
It's not even I have to pray about it because God already put it in my heart.
Oh, yeah. You already knew.
I knew he wanted it to happen, but I wasn't sure when.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. We have to trust God's timing. It's our faith. That's our job, is to have the faith, but we trust him with the results and the timing. And so I was like, absolutely. So we talked about the details and whatnot, and we have to do fundraising.
Okay.
And so I've done lots of fundraising.
Yeah.
And we got the 2-minute sizzle reel to show the different stations, and so many want it.
Okay.
So that was awesome.
Yeah.
So then we got the pilot, and then things started slowing down.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but things started slowing down.
Okay.
But then CTN, which is our local Christian station, they want it. And so their studio is awesome.
Yeah.
And the other studio we were going to use is way more expensive.
Okay.
So it's been
So it's worked
a
out.
joy. Yes. So we get to go May 30th.
Okay.
We start filming.
Yay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I am thrilled. And I'm having my first retreat this summer with my coaching group.
Nice.
And so for the TV show, they're like, make sure you get some video footage. So we'll have some B videos and it's just going to be awesome. So my co-host, I have a pharmacist, a doctor of pharmacy.
Okay.
And then I have a nurse, she's a registered nurse. And then I have a holistic nutritionist.
Love it.
And we all met through fitness.
Okay.
And they're all fitness instructors as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be the 4 of us, and we're going to have 2 different workouts on every show.
Okay.
So we'll have a strength, and then we'll do a cardio.
Nice.
At the strength at the beginning, cardio at the end, and then we'll have a roundtable discussion. And we have different topics like brain health, different things.
Okay.
And it's so good that I have these experts that are amazing women. They're just fun. We love each other. We're friends.
I love that.
And then I have different guests coming on.
Okay.
So I may be hitting you up.
Yeah, please do. I would love that. It sounds incredible.
It is like a dream. It really is, because when I became a Christian, I loved Christian TV.
Right.
I watched it all the time. I had my favorite preachers. I learned so much. And my faith was activated by hearing what they did.
Yeah.
Because I would hear it. I would read in the Bible. That's what Jesus said to do. And I would do it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I want to live my life.
I love that.
And now to think I could be on the other side ministering to maybe people who don't know the Lord, or maybe people who are just new in their journey with God.
Right.
To fill them up, and not only with their faith, but fitness, moving their body.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me how the two never seem to correlate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do think it's because mainstream fitness and how women have been over sexualized, and like how, you know what I mean? And how men have been vain and, ego driven and whatever. It just has gotten such a negative connotation that, when it comes to the church and stuff like that, it's always baffled me how more people aren't talking about that, of like respecting your body and appreciating your body. And with everyone dealing with, again, with body dysmorphia and binge eating and all these things, I try to remind myself constantly, especially like after my eye and just everything that happened, that like your body's a temple.
Yeah.
You've put it through a lot. So you got to kind of roll with it. You know what I mean? You got to like do the best you can and not, constantly be upset about it, because there was a lot of resentment.
Sure.
There was a lot of like, who do I blame? Like you were talking about before, like my coach that I had, or even like friends, like, why didn't someone stop me or pull me out? Like, because I was just too far gone. Like I was so like, it was like eat, sleep, breathe, bodybuilding. Right. But on top of my business, on top of being an influencer,
your
like,
stress level had to be.
Oh, it was. I really wish that I had like in the cartoons,
barometer.
you know what I mean? Like a barometer, so people could have seen like how long I went living in that like red zone. And I mean, it was a week after I turned 30 that I woke up and my eyesight was blurred. And I was just, and I mean, the stupid things that I worried about, like, you know what I mean? Like,
puts things in perspective.
Right. And it did, because it was just ridiculous, and you look back at it now, you're like, man. But I just remember being like, that's kind of weird, my eyesight, whatever, didn't really understand still. But there were other signs, there were other things, but I just can kind of put them off because, you're like, I have to help everybody else and I have to do these things and I got to make sure that they're okay. And, clients are texting me at 12 o'clock at night, but it's okay because I'll answer them because, whatever. And it's, you know what I mean? And it was just not having that boundary. Yeah. But thankfully, I mean, and when you talk about speaking into existence, right? Like, it was the whole thing of when I had moved here, like we had this back part renovated because it looked like a 1970s house, you know what I mean? Like blue and yellow walls and like very like that. And so got that done. But that shed out there, I just remember being like, because I told myself, I'm like, I can't keep waking up at 3:30 in the morning to go to the gym. Right. I can't keep, I mean, I'm just exhausted, and I still was trying to do bodybuilding. And I'm like, how am I going to do this next show? Like, I'm not living at a high rise anymore. I don't have the equipment, you know what I mean? And whatever. And I was like, I wonder if someone would like sponsor, because that would be the only way I could afford it. Because after all the renovations, that was a lot of money. And I was just like, I don't really have anything. But I asked my parents, I'm like, how hard would it be to strip it out, get all the stuff out of there, and like paint and whatever, and like kind of make it a spot where I could do my workouts. So that was the main focus. And then literally it was like, I had another flare up. I guess it was maybe like 8 months later. So another high stress moment, I guess, but we didn't know that's what it was at the time.
Sure.
So another vision loss, episode, right? And so I basically was like, I got to change. I got to get out of the gym I was in. And so I basically had been posting about how we got that together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my clients were like, it looks like such a vibe. Can we come check it out? And I was like, oh, like you want to come? Like here? To like check it out, and they were like, yeah, and they started training. Like this is actually because it was only like a little bit further than where they were going anyway, and people drive from all over.
Yeah.
So like if I'm already driving 45 minutes, what's an extra 10?
Right.
Or if I'm driving from Kentucky, like why not come? They didn't. It was like this would be great, and it's exclusive, it's by ourselves, it's private, whatever. So like that was such a God thing because I was like, I'm just going to reach out to this company that I see is following me and see what they say. And it was thankfully this woman who's amazing, but like family owned business. And she was like, Danny, we love what you're doing. Let us know what you need.
Oh,
I mean,
that is so wonderful.
I couldn't have done it without them, but that was
Right.
God watching over me because it was one of those
Yes.
things of like, he was like, I know you'll keep going and you'll keep putting yourself in that high stress and you'll keep going. And that's just not the path.
And he wants us to ask for what we want.
Yes.
I'm learning that over and over.
Yeah.
We've been reading the Old Testament. Our church is on a 2-year plan.
Okay.
And so we read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers,
Yeah.
Deuteronomy, Joshua. And now Joshua it's kind of the boring part, but it's good to read.
Yeah.
Because he's dividing up the land. Because they've gone, they left Egypt, they got free, and now they have all this land. Of course, they had to fight for it, fight for what you want.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes.
And he's dividing the land. Well, there's just one tribe, I think it was Judah.
Okay.
And they were like, we need more land because God's really blessed us with a huge population here.
Yeah.
We got a lot of kids.
Right.
And he was like, okay. And he just gave him more and more. And
Yeah.
it was just cool to see how it laid out. And I
Yeah.
thought sometimes we don't ask because we don't think we deserve it
Right.
or we're afraid.
Yeah.
But like you saw this vision.
Yeah.
You had a vision for what you wanted.
Yeah.
And then God brought the people and
Right.
gave you the resources.
Yeah. And that's
And you
where-
were brave enough to ask.
Yes, and that's where something too that I find myself sometimes like being like, well, what am I supposed to do? Or sometimes I get a little stir crazy, right?
Yeah.
It happens like every 3 years for me,
Okay.
and it's so funny. But like because it's like something of like I know that he's like, well, you're comfortable, so like we got to move on. We
Yeah.
got to like change. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's how it's been. That's what like the Franklin studio and like letting that go, and like just all the things that were kind of hard that I didn't want to do, but then did it and it became amazing.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things where like, even sometimes I'll get ahead of myself though, and I'll be like, well, maybe God wants me to like minister, or maybe he wants me to go on mission trips, or maybe he wants me like whatever. And then I'm like, if he wants you to do it, and if that's what's in your heart, it'll happen. Like
Yeah.
you'll get there some way.
Yeah.
But stop trying to drive the way to get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like force things.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like there's a couple things I have that hopefully I'll be able to talk about soon that they're coming up. And so I'm excited for that. But it's like, again, it's just trusting in his plan and not my plan,
I know exactly what you're saying
Yeah.
because I've had so many things come at me. I was telling you about that.
Yeah.
And 2 other opportunities I almost said yes to.
Right.
But I literally look at my vision board. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not on the vision board. It's not going to happen because I got to get this done.
Yes.
The Lord has given me this.
Correct.
And so I'm
and
sticking
put your
to this.
all into that.
Yes. And I got to get these things done. But I already have a feeling of what might come next year.
Yes. Yeah. Which is cool. I mean, because
Yeah.
again, it's like I think you said something too that I do want to point out about the whole, like you didn't know when something was going to happen,
Yeah.
but and that's where I think people get it confused about manifesting or about even just God in general.
Yeah.
They think that by asking that it's going to happen, immediately or tomorrow. Yeah. Or like the whole like manifesting. And when I was in Franklin, it had to have been 3 years. Yeah, like 3 years. And I said to my clients, I was like, I will not pay to live in Nashville. Because they were trying to pressure, like, they were trying to be nice because they're like, you need to get out of your parents' house, But they were just like, buy a house in Franklin. I was like, what? Like, what? Like, you guys know my prices. Like,
Right.
no. And that was much less then too. So I was like, there's no way. And I was just that was one of those things. I was like, no, I'm just going to keep living with my parents. It's fine, whatever. I'll figure it out. But I was like, I said it like every day. I'm not going to pay to live in Nashville. I get an email in 2020 or 2019 actually from a girl who was like, hey, saw your website. We have this influencer program. Would you like to come live in this high rise for free for a year?
Wow.
And I was like, okay, this must be a joke or whatever.
Free?
Yeah. And I was like, this has to be like, you know what I mean? And she's actually been on the podcast anyway. But I was just like, sure, come meet me at the gym. We'll talk about it, whatever. It was like my lunch break. I'm like eating in front of her. I'm like, hey, so like, what are we doing? Like, what do you need?
Right.
Like, I thought it was total hoax. And literally, I mean, that was like $27,000 essentially that I would have paid, right? And literally during that time that I was able to be there, I heard about this house from my half brother who's a real estate agent. Anyway, in a weird way, that was also that God brought us together too.
Yeah.
And when I heard about it, it was pretty much like around that amount that I would have to do like a down payment or, you know, whatever. And I was like, that money that I was able to save was how I was able to get the house. Mm-hmm. So you see what I mean?
God
like
provides.
He does. And it was just, but what I had said was I wanted something. Well, I was, again, manifesting. I was like, I want something that I don't want like a house. Like I kept saying, I don't want a big house. I don't want like, you know, everyone's like here recently has gotten like those like cute, like whatever type of house, like picket fence type of looking, you know, whatever. Yeah. And you're like, cool. They're like new and like whatever. And that's great for them. But I was like, that doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
Like I want something that has like potential and like investment and like and when I got this, I didn't know that the shed would become the LYB and it'd be a sponsor home gym.
Right.
I was just like, oh, it's a shed, whatever. But like this, like having the Airbnb, that was able to provide my mortgage.
Right.
And like
so smart.
Right. But it was one of those things of like, that's what intrigued me. So it was hilarious because everyone else is like, that sounds like weird, or they didn't see the vision. And I'm like, that's exactly what I would love. And so that was really cool. You know what I mean? To get to have the opportunity. But that was such a God thing too, because someone in the family had passed away. I didn't want to go to the funeral. I didn't really know them. You know, it was one of those things. And my dad asked me kindly, and he said, could you please go? And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to move clients. You know, I was like, ugh, I'm going to have to drive. And he was like, well, actually, right? And you, so these things where you're like, wow, such an inconvenience. But it literally, I would not have known about this house if it wasn't for that ride.
Yeah, God was lining things up for you.
Exactly. So it's kind of like the things that we feel so resistant or feel so like, this is like I said, an inconvenience or like whatever frustration ends up being, I mean, can it be something incredible and literally change your life?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I just think that more people need to sit and listen to that. Mm-hmm. And I love that you have the vision board. And have you done those for like since you've been an adult or your whole life, or what's that been like?
Actually, there's a lady on Instagram named Terry Sabelle Foy.
Okay.
And she caught my eye because I was building my network marketing business, and I loved her because she was not just...
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the LYB podcast. If you ever have any questions about wanting to train with Danny Fitness or getting your movement in, please feel free to reach out to Danny at DandyFitness.com, as well as you can follow me on all social media platforms, Dandy Fitness 1.
Personal development person, but she was a believer.
Yes.
And everything was based on scripture.
Okay.
And I recognized her middle name, her maiden name, Savelle, and I thought, a preacher I used to listen to back in the old days when I would watch Christian TV named Jerry Savelle.
Okay.
And so I started listening to her. I looked him up. I was like, yep, she's his daughter.
Oh, wow.
So it was the same belief system. We had the same values, the same belief system. And she started talking about vision boards.
Yeah.
And I think I had learned a little bit about them, but I didn't really understand how to do it where it worked.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I made a vision board based on... I bought her book. It's called Dream It, Pen It, Live It by Terry Sabelle Foy.
Okay.
I bought that book, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of praying, thinking, meditating, all those things. And everything on my vision board happened. Doom, 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 doom.
Wow.
And it was just God.
Yeah.
It really was God. A lot of people like to call them prayer boards because they don't want to sound new agey.
Yeah.
But whatever you want to call it, it worked, and it was really based on scripture. I learned how to do affirmations to say what I am. And there's neuroscience that works.
Correct. Yes.
I mean, scripture tells us what a man thinketh he becomes.
Yes.
And then scientists will tell you it's called RAS, well, I can't remember what it is.
I know what you're talking about, but yes.
But it's like if you want a red car, all of a sudden you start seeing red cars everywhere.
Yes.
And it really is about what you're putting in your mind. That's why being positive and practicing gratitude is so important.
Yes. And I think that so many people who might be listening, they might be like, oh, well, that's
Kooky.
or that's too out there. But I'm like, you're sitting here watching all these things about aliens being like, and believing that, or like, you know what I mean? I'm like, or believing
People need to learn how the brain works.
Or believing that Katy Perry went to space. Is it too soon to say
Oh,
that?
I heard that. Yeah. I saw a clip of that on Instagram. That was funny. And then I heard somebody really believed it. Yeah.
I mean, people are believing it.
With AI,
whatever.
it's this whole scary world.
It is.
It is.
But anyway, but I'm just like, then you can believe in like yourself, and
Right.
start talking to yourself more positively.
Yeah. And if you say things, look out.
Yeah.
Because more than likely they're going to happen.
For sure.
You're making it happen.
Yes. And that's the thing too, is like, it is so interesting. And that's what I'll always say, that like, cause I remember when I first started doing positive affirmations, like no one really was on Instagram at the time that were big and that kind of stuff, And so I don't really know, like, I think it was really because I was in college and stuff. And I was kind of like, I need to start doing it or whatever. But then when I went to Vermont, I'm at this resort and I was working there, and the lady was talking about the science behind it. And I was like, okay, like that makes sense. Like, all right, I'll try it. So I would stand in front of the mirror and I would say at least one a day.
Yeah.
And then I would start, because then I kind of felt silly sometimes. So I was like, I'll like write it on a sticky note.
Yeah.
So I used to love doing that, like colored sticky notes.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, it could match my mood, or it could just be like whatever. But I would like put them up so that the whole wall in there would have sticky notes
Right.
on it. And it would just be that constant reminder. And so I tell people all the time, I'm like, why wouldn't you, you have all these things that materialistic things around you. Why wouldn't you have stuff that inspires you or makes you remember like how you want to love yourself or how you want to feel? And so I have like my picture like in my bathroom and in my bedroom of the jump, my like love your body jump.
Yeah.
And because when I remember that time, I just felt like couldn't feel my leg. I was injured, but I felt beautiful in that moment, and it was a freeing like time.
Oh, yeah.
And so it always takes me back, and I'm like, yeah, that's a great reminder. Or I wear my bracelets every day on my wrist, and so I look down, and if I don't want to like get my movement in, it's like get your movement in.
Yeah.
Or if it's like fight for what you want, it's like, okay, I can handle this kind of situation that's happening, or whatever it might be. So I believe in that, like saying those things and seeing them too.
Yeah, there's power in what you see. That's why it's important what you watch.
Yes.
Don't watch trash TV.
Yes.
We don't have time for that. Our brains don't need that.
Yeah.
You watch what you want.
Right.
And I love that. What you listen to matters. Faith comes by hearing.
It does, yes.
And so whatever you're hearing, you're believing.
Right.
You're really putting your trust and hope in that thing.
Do you watch The Chosen at all? Have you seen that series?
I have tried to watch it. I could not get into it.
Why not?
I know. Everybody says get past the first season and then
Yeah.
you'll be hooked.
Yeah.
I need to do it. I really am not a TV person.
Okay.
We have a TV, but
Yeah.
if I want to watch something, it's usually YouTube. It's one of my favorite preachers.
Okay.
I'm just like
Yeah.
that. And I'd rather be working out or walking or reading a book.
Oh no, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I just know for me it was like the other day I was it was kind of like I want to say it was a sad day, but it was just one of those days where you're just like
We have those.
Yeah, like I want to do something, but I was like I don't know what to do, and they actually had the show came on, like it wasn't Netflix, but it was on something else. But anyway,
Yeah.
but it's not out yet, the new season, and so they have a 3-part series in the theaters, but only at certain theaters
Okay.
and only at certain times. So it was like at noon on a random whatever day it was,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm gonna go, and so I got to watch it like on a big screen.
Oh, no, that would be
and, like,
special. I
and-
like that.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was really special. It felt like different, and I love going to the movies because I can like disconnect from my phone. I can just be present. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's kind of always been my thing. I always talk about that to people of like that's kind of like obviously I go to church, but like that's always been like kind of my church too, just to like get away from everyone, kind of
Yes.
center myself, and I always feel good.
Yes.
And so it's just like I went and I watched that, and I felt this like kind of a heaviness of like, wow, the price that Jesus paid for us, because that's a 3-part series. Like he's about to go on the cross,
Oh,
so it's like
yeah.
getting right there. So in
like
part
Easter,
1,
yeah.
but it was like there was a scene in not to spoil it for people, but they know what happens. But anyway, but it's like the scene where he's like it's basically he just sees how Jerusalem is and how they're like exchanging money and
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean, and
He's
all the
angry.
unhealth or cleanliness and just everything that's happening, right? And he's just like that they will pay eventually for that, because of all their sins. But he's just like hurt. He's not angry.
Right.
He's just like, you've desecrated my father's house.
Hurt for this. Yeah.
And it was such a heavy thing because it's like they just got so worldly. Like I related it to how the world like looks at things as, oh, it's not that bad. but actually it is,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that was something that I was like, man, I have to sit with this. And so I just like walked around after and kind of just, took it in. But I was like, we get so in because they were just, that's how their world worked, because they had like the Romans who were telling them we're going to have to tax everything, whatever. So the people were trying to make money. So they're out there trying to sell the animals. They're trying to do all the things because that's a huge celebration, the Passover and whatever.
Yes.
But again, that wasn't how it was supposed to be.
Right.
So they took something, made it into something else, and ran with it.
Yeah.
And even his disciples didn't really understand why it was an issue.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I think that if we don't take time to like actually be in the word and actually be learning constantly, then we can adhere to it and think like, oh,
everything can be rationalized, like normalized.
Correct.
Yes.
And like, but that's just how it is, right? Like, you probably heard that many times. Like, but that's just how it is. And maybe with like your women that you work with like menopause, well, that's just how it is. Like,
Yeah, and a lot of doctors will tell women, you're gonna have the belly fat. It's just part of growing older.
right.
Yeah. But
And what do you? I mean, I was going to ask you, have you had like a negative experience with a lot of the medical stuff? Or
not really.
Okay.
Yeah, not really. My husband's a pharmacist.
Okay.
And so he's on all the drugs.
Yeah.
I always say I married a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows all the things.
Yeah, so I'm glad he got me to trust and believe in HRT.
Yeah. Okay.
Hormone replacement therapy.
So that's worked really well for you.
Yes.
Okay.
That's helped me so much. I was having very bad emotional problems and all that hot sweats and hot flashes and night sweats.
Well, and I think the other thing too is that people always discredit with women is that, they're like, they just expect you to be, I'm sure, because you're always seen as like so happy and so grateful and so thankful. But then when you do have a moment where you're like, no, I'm just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel good.
Right.
Then it's like, how are you supposed to be your best when you're having these things happen?
Yeah.
So I definitely get that. So what is something that you kind of tell your women or you tell people listening today? Like, what would you say besides praying? Because obviously like prayer is, key.
Yes.
But what would you say is the best thing? Like, should they find a naturopath? Like, should they, when they're going through menopause or perimenopause, like, what do you recommend?
Yeah. Well, there's several doctors that I follow that really are great for promoting women's health and go to the doctor, see if you're a candidate, because not everybody is a candidate for it.
Oh, okay.
So I always refer them back to the doctor.
Okay.
And obviously I'll say this is what I do.
Yeah.
But it's up to you. And so people choose different things.
Right.
Because there are a lot of homeopathic medicines
Right.
and different doctors that they can go to. So
Yeah.
I just, I don't get into all that.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor.
For sure. Yeah, I got you.
Go see your doctor on that, but I do help them with reducing inflammation.
Yeah.
Eating foods that promote longevity.
Yeah.
Energy. And it's been a blast. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it. And it works because I've changed my body.
Right.
And they're seeing their changes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know about reverse dieting.
Yep.
So
100%.
I've reverse dieted, and I'm like, y'all, and I'm so real with my group. We do
which is
Zooms
awesome.
twice a week, and then I have some one-on-one clients I work with too. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I am adding all these calories, and it's a little scary.
Yeah.
Once you lose weight and you get in shape and all that, and you're like, oh gosh, what am I doing? But you have to trust the process.
Right.
And it's crazy because I'm eating so much more and
Yeah.
I've not gained any weight.
Yeah.
And I'm
'Cause you're
really
fueling your
working on
body.
gaining muscle. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly.
So
and you have to eat
it
more
feels-
if you want to gain muscle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people don't realize that.
Yeah. And you
know?
don't want to lose the muscle.
Right.
If you continue on once you reach your goal
Yeah.
and continue on, that's when you start losing the muscle.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
it's really been a treat. And they just feel so strong and empowered.
And it's amazing to have that. And I feel that way like with my community as well, because it is amazing when they get kind of past themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like away from that.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
just focus on like, oh, actually, like I can be strong.
Yes.
Or I can be empowered. Or this
they
is
start
enough.
doing things. Like I have one lady who had so many injuries. And she's like, Angel, I cannot believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like I started your workouts holding water bottles.
Right.
And now I'm holding 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they just get stronger and stronger.
Right.
And I do little challenges with them. So we're doing a push-up challenge this week.
Love it.
There's some viral video about a woman should be able to do 11 push-ups on her toes.
Oh, okay.
And I looked it up. There's no real research on that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's
okay.
fun.
Yeah, I gotcha. You're just
Some
something
doctor
that's
came
going
out
around.
with this. Yeah.
Yes.
So I thought we need to do this. So
Yeah.
this week,
I mean,
That's in general, but like,
well,
right, 11 push-ups on your toes. And so,
but that's like the challenge I had. It was 12 push-ups, or I've done 10 push-ups a day for 10 weeks,
Yeah.
but we did 12 push-ups, and like I mean, you'd be surprised how many people cannot do that.
Oh, and I tell them, if you can't do it on your toes,
Yeah.
then you go to your knees.
Right.
If you can't do it on your knees, you go to the wall.
Yeah.
There's always
You can
something you
modify.
can do. Exactly. But I have one really overachiever, and she's lost a lot of body fat. She feels
Yeah.
great. And she's like, okay, Angel, we're going to up the ante on this. I'm like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so she was telling me in a Zoom, you just better look out tomorrow.
Oh, my
And so
goodness.
she gets on a handstand
What?
with her feet against the wall.
Yeah.
And she flips up and she does her 11 push-ups. And I'm like, oh, girl.
That's wild.
I know.
You're
It's
like,
so
and this is the
fun.
advance, so everyone else don't forget to do that.
Yeah.
Toes, you got pistol all, and you got.
That's crazy. I love that.
Yeah. We're all cheering her on,
Aw, that's so great. So what is something that you like besides the TV show and everything like that? Is there anything else like that you're really excited about that you want to share? Or are you just like, because we're getting into summer months, this is what I call love your body season.
Okay.
Yeah. So is there
Yeah,
anything?
I'm so excited because I've been a collaborator on 2 books.
Okay, yes.
So the first book was The Hunt for My Smile. That was all about facial paralysis. I wrote a chapter on that.
Love it.
It was very therapeutic.
Okay.
There's so much that happens when you write.
Yeah.
And then I just finished helping to write a second book.
Okay.
And it's all about being resilient.
Yeah.
And so I talked about my brain tumor and getting the diagnosis. And they really wanted me to highlight my husband. I forgot the reason, but I dug into that
Yeah.
because he was a rock.
Yeah, that's gotta be
He was a
huge,
rock. We've been married for
'cause-
32 years.
Yeah.
And God knew who I needed.
Right. Yeah. What was his? I mean, how did he react when everything happened? Because again, he's a
He-
new parent, and then you
Yeah.
go through your brain tumor and everything like that. Like,
Yeah. I'm so glad he has a medical background for
Yeah.
sure. And he's just very calm when there are storms.
that's amazing.
He is very calm and all that. We won't talk about everyday life, but
right. Yes. Yeah.
But he handled it so well and
Okay.
was always there for me. I mean, there was a period he had to spoon feed me,
Oh.
It's pretty humbling.
yeah.
But we got through it.
Yeah.
They say when you go through things, you get better or bitter.
Right.
And he definitely better.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, how old were y'all when y'all met?
When we met, we were in college.
Okay.
He actually went through the Navy for
Oh,
4 years
okay.
before he started. He didn't know what he wanted to do. He was a
Okay.
wild child.
Yeah.
And
I love it. Yeah.
I was a wild child, but thought everybody's going to college. I guess I'll go to college.
Yeah.
So that's how we met.
Okay.
And we had a mutual friend, another crazy guy I went to high school with who knew Wade. And Wade was the smart one. So we would literally follow him to the library after class
Okay.
and say, what was he saying? It was calculus with
Yeah.
an Asian, professor.
right.
Nobody understood him. But Wade was smart.
Yeah.
And he's very focused.
Love it.
And I don't know if you've ever done the Enneagram test.
Yes, I have.
He's a 5. That's
Okay.
the learner.
Okay.
He likes to learn and take things apart. And
Okay.
so it's really great. I'm the cheerleader.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we balance each other out,
yeah.
which is great. But yeah, he was great. So I was able to write this chapter.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was therapeutic
Okay.
about him helping me and being better than being alone.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did your kid?
Oh, but what I'm excited
yeah.
about,
Tell me
forgot
what
to
you're excited.
say.
Yeah.
So I just finished my second book collaboration. So
okay.
now I'm writing my own book, The Fitness Angel, about my
Amazing.
fitness and health journey.
Yay. Okay. That's so great.
So that's what I'm real excited about. And
love
it takes
that.
so much discipline.
It does.
For a person who likes to be moving and on the go.
Yeah,
to
you
have
gotta
to
sit and write. Yes. So I actually, and I'm gonna give you a copy, but of my book, and so it's just a
Yay.
short, little self help book and everything like that. But even just like I had guests on that told me, Danny, like write a book, like
Yes.
start put it even, and I was like, but it's not gonna be. I just remember I kept making excuses because I'm the same way. I don't like to just sit usually and just
Right.
chill, and so I remember being like, how am I gonna write a 100-page book or whatever it was gonna be, like, or 200-page or whatever. I was like, and no one's gonna publish it, no one's gonna see it, it doesn't matter, And they're like, no, just like start writing and like format it, and then like you can have someone help you put it on Amazon, and you can get it out
Right.
in no time. And I was just kind of like, okay, and it pretty much was like a year after that.
Okay.
And then I finally, just with all my health stuff, I actually like kind of had to be grounded because I couldn't do as much.
Yep.
So it was one of those things where I was resting more. I was like, well, instead of just sitting here, let's be productive. And so just started writing down my thoughts and putting it into chapters and things like that. And got it, published and got it on Amazon or whatever. And it was one of those things where we did like book signings and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And it really makes me feel proud because like yes, we have the podcast, but that's just like one form.
Right.
And then to have a book, that's another form. And like Instagram is another form. So like
Another way to reach people.
Exactly. As many outlets as possible.
Yes.
And I really do think that book is powerful because again, I know that even just you can assume you know what it's going to be like, but reading it and how you and me both like keep things so real. I mean, it talks about things that I went through as a teenager. Like it talks about like, you know, like the very dark stuff of loving your body.
Yeah.
And that you most likely probably have hated your body at some point and all of that. And then it's like tools that I've learned to help people. And so it's a good like start.
That is awesome.
Thank
Yeah, that's what I
you.
want to do is get all of that
Yes.
on paper.
Yep.
And also leaving it as a legacy for my children, my
Yes.
family, and my coaching clients.
Yeah,
You know, I just can't wait to give
100%.
them one. And then I've already got my next book in my head. I want to do
Love
my
it.
mom's case.
Yeah. Oh,
wanna talk about that.
100%. Yes. I think that'd be so
I
powerful.
really want to stand up for justice.
Well, and I think that like, again, I think it becomes one of those things of, you know, as we're kind of closing out and stuff, it's like when people are looking at you, they would never assume, or especially if you're living in like Williamson County or whatever, to know that like that happened to your mom.
She's had a perfect life.
And, right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people are so easy and so quick to do that. Or like, well, they don't, you know, you can't understand or this or whatever. And it's like, no, like everything that has been thrown at you, again, we're not saying you're perfect, right? We're not saying you handled it with grace every moment of every day of every, you know, whatever. But again, you still were able to, and this is why I love to say, like, turn the negative into a positive, right? Something detrimental, something life-changing where most probably would have just crumbled or been so resentful and angry that they couldn't move past it, you know? And you see that all the time. And it's just such a disservice of what this life is supposed to be.
Right.
And because what was it? Which disciple was it? I can't remember at the top of my head, but wasn't one of them like had issues like with their body? Like it was like had like I don't know what it was
Paul,
exactly. Maybe
talking
Paul,
about the thorn.
maybe
I don't know.
I don't know. But there's multiple stories in the Bible where God's like said before, like where it's you are where like he could heal all these people, right?
Yes.
But if he didn't choose to heal like a certain person or whatever it might be, is because that person will then be such a greater example. Do you know what I mean? Because of all the struggles that they're going through. And it's one of those things of like that person can, you know, it would have been easy for him to just heal them and then be like, that's a great story to tell, right? But it's one of those things where like, okay, but you know, for me, example, like if I would have been healed with my eye, I probably would have jumped right back into bodybuilding and been like, whew, got out of that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the
God
path.
will take all things and work them together for good to those that love him and are called according to his purpose. So I always
Yeah.
think that something good is going to come from this.
Yes.
And we may not see it on this side of heaven.
Right.
Because that's what I love about Hebrews chapter 11, I think it is, the hall of faith. All these wonderful men and women of faith
Yeah.
were given these promises from God, but sometimes they didn't happen until after they'd already died and gone to heaven.
Yes, exactly.
And so we can't always think it's going to happen in our timing.
Right.
But we believe it's going to happen.
That's
Because
so-
I'm a firm believer in healing. I
Yes.
believe that God will heal us.
Yeah.
Either before we go through the fire,
Right.
after we've been through the fire,
Yeah.
or on the other side of heaven.
And what's so beautiful, you said that because my pastor has been talking about like Hebrews and like having that faith
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah.
And so it's just, it is truly in that he even said the other day, it was like that it might not be here,
Right.
you know, but
Right.
it will come.
It will come. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's our
Yeah.
prayer. And so we believe. You know, our job is just to have
Yeah.
faith and believe and to trust God with the results and the
Yes.
timing.
Yes, 100%.
100%.
Oh, I love that so much, Angel. I'm so excited. I can't
too.
wait to see your book. I can't wait to hear all the amazing things. Like I
Thank
said, I always
you.
keep up with you on everything, and it's just been a real blessing to get to hear more of your story. And like I said, it is, you know, incredible your faith and your conviction, and it makes people like me, you know, feel just so like not even honored, but like just like so excited to know you. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Because it does feel real and authentic. And there's so many people out there that it just doesn't come across that way. And like I'll see you do something, and I'm like, she's just living her life. Like she is just, you know what I mean? Though, like she's
Yeah.
like, and the same thing with like Terry, you know, whatever. And
Yeah.
like, and it's just like, and I love that because it's again strong, independent women that are just like, I'm here for a purpose, and you're gonna listen. Like
Yeah.
you may not like it, you may not like me, but like you will see me.
Right.
And you know, when
Well, you have to stay in your own lane and realize you're not for everybody, but there's
Yeah.
people who need you
right.
and people that you can help.
And if you hide and you stray away, like, no, how will they ever see?
yeah, they're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on that blessing.
Exactly.
And so there's people for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by helping others, you help yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I think people forget about that too.
I feel like it's selfish sometimes.
Yeah.
Like they think, oh, you're so giving, you're so helpful. I'm like, well, it's helping me.
Oh, 100%. And that's exactly, that is, I was just thinking about that the other day with something because I was like, my clients a lot of times don't realize that by working with them, like it gives me purpose and it also just helps me be my best.
Yes.
Because if I didn't, I mean, it just wouldn't be a fulfilling life,
Right.
You know, and so it's just funny. It's just a perspective of things.
Yeah, and when you're giving and pouring and coaching and helping, you're at a higher level.
Yes,
Like you really have to be on it to lead by example, and I love that. We're living the life we want to live. Aren't we blessed?
We are so blessed, and that's exactly correct. And again, doesn't mean that there aren't things that come up and things things like that. But it's so. Like I said, I think I talked about on a post today. It was just about like being grateful, and just that it is a blessing. Because again, I don't ever take it for granted. And I think I said it was like when you've been injured, you don't take a workout for granted.
Exactly.
When you don't have your health, you don't take. You know what I mean? Like you don't take it for
Exactly.
granted. Like so, you really can't. You just have to make the most out of today and whatever that looks like. You know.
Yep.
And so so I definitely think that you're doing such a great job. Like I said,
Thank you,
and I
and
really
you are too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I always do ask my question to everybody who comes on. So what is something that you love about your body?
Something I love about my body. I am recently almost 57.
Okay.
And I'm getting muscles.
Yes, I see. If you're watching on YouTube, she's flexing her biceps. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
getting muscles.
Yes,
and
you
I
are.
feel really good.
And I love that you were such a cardio queen before, and
Yes.
now you lift weights. Like, and
yes,
again,
I'm getting in the gym and
Yes.
I check my body. I do the in-body scan.
Yeah.
And I don't worry about my weight.
right.
I want to
It's
see the
irrelevant.
strength
Yes.
go up, the muscles, the bone density,
Yep.
the organs. I mean,
Yeah.
all of that is what really matters.
Correct.
But it's been so fun, and you do feel
Yeah.
stronger.
Yeah.
And it's all, we're all related, like body, mind, spirit. When you have a
Yep.
stronger body,
Yes.
your mind is stronger.
100%.
Your spirit is stronger.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
People don't realize that it is. I was like, I always tell people, I'm like, if you give this your all and in a healthy lifestyle journey, like when you're lifting and things like this, it will translate to your work,
Yes.
to your relationship, to what you'll accept, what you won't accept.
Yes.
All of it goes into that. And so that is where it is so important. It's more than just lifting weights.
Right.
It's so much more. And that's why
It is.
like movement, like I said, is everything. And if you'll just let it be.
Yeah.
You know, if you'll let it be a part of you. So, it's incredible, and I'm so proud of you. And
Thank you.
it's great. It's good to see. Like I love.
It's been fun.
Oh, I know. It's awesome. But until next time.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.